Welcome to Senate Commerce. I appreciate everyone's patience. I know we've had some committees go a little bit late, my previous one included, so we're all running and appreciate your patience as we start a few minutes late. Are there any bill introductions today? Seeing none, we will move to the first and only item in our agenda and committee. Just so you know, we were scheduled to have an update on the apprenticeship program. I received some information from the Department of Commerce that they actually have some businesses that are participating in that program that will be in the building at a future date fairly soon. And I thought that might be more beneficial for us to hear from actual participants. So we moved that to accommodate that schedule. So today we do just have the one briefing on 2023 Attracting Powerful Economic Expansion, or as we call it, APEX. And we have Bob North, Chief Legal Counsel from the Department of Commerce, here to give us that briefing. Welcome to committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. I am Bob North, Chief Counsel at the Department of Commerce, and appreciate the opportunity to kind of update you on the APEX legislation that this body passed in February of 2022. And we've had two APEX projects, one of which is the Panasonic project, and it's going. So I'll probably spend the bulk of my time speaking about it, and then we do have another project. Now, as you recall, the APEX legislation is triggered by projects that have $1 billion or more in capital investment, and it also allows for each company that's an APEX company to have up to 5 suppliers that receive APEX incentives. The two projects that we've done with the APEX legislation and that have been approved by the State Finance Council are Panasonic and Integra, and those are the largest and third largest economic development projects in the history of the state of Kansas. So this tool that you passed and has been implemented is extremely powerful. As of December of 2023, the APEX agreement with Panasonic will result in capital investment of at least $4 billion. There's going to be approximately 8,000 jobs. That includes 4,000 or so kind of direct badged Panasonic employees, as well as an additional 4,000 indirect jobs and supplier jobs. All told, there's going to be over 16,000 construction jobs on site. You know, obviously at different times in the process, there's currently 600 or 700 construction jobs. And if you've had a chance to drive by, the foundation's dug, the concrete's poured, the steel is going up, and then they're making a lot of progress. I think the goal is to be operational Q1 of next year. So there's a lot of work to do, but there's a lot of work that has already taken place. Over $2.5 billion in projected economic activity as a result of the Panasonic facilities. Each dollar of APEX incentives is going to generate over $26 of estimated economic impact. I'm going to briefly walk through the incentive components of that APEX agreement, but I want everyone to keep in mind that these incentives are earned. They are not provided up front to the company. They've got to make the capital investment, they've got to create the jobs, they've got to pay the wages in order to earn the incentives. On the investment tax credit side, it's projected to be about $500 million, which is spread out over 5 years. The payroll rebate, $234 million, spread out over 10 years. We've got some training and education incentives in there, $5 million a year over 5 years. Relocation investment for the purpose of helping the company bring in talent and workers. And then there's a sales tax exemption, which is estimated at $60 million over 5 years. As I indicated, we've also entered into an agreement with Integra, which is going to site in the Sedgwick County area. It's going to result in over 5,100 jobs, about 2,000 of which are Integra badged jobs, and a little over 3,000 indirect jobs and suppliers. That's going to be a 1 million square foot facility, and the return on investment, the economic impact of that project is, for each dollar of Apex incentives, it will generate about $218 of economic impact. In that study, as well as the Panasonic study, were done by Wichita State University. The investment tax credit for Integra, $180 million over 10 years. Payroll rebate, $66 million over 10 years. Training is similar, $5 million per year for 5 years. Relocation assistance and the sales tax exemption, $23.3 million. Now, we have to keep in mind that the Integra project is contingent upon Integra receiving CHIPS Act funding from the federal government. And that process has been elongated. It's taking longer than was expected. The U.S. Department of Commerce has announced a handful of CHIPS awards, so that process is starting to take place, and both Integra and the state are very optimistic that Integra will be successful there. As of December 23rd, no benefits have been paid to either company under the Apex legislation, with the exception of sales tax exemption. And I believe that Panasonic's last full report that has been vetted indicates capital investment of $321 million, right in that range. And so that's another demonstration of how quickly they're working and how much they are expending in the state. There's some other items at the end of the testimony that, again, just reflect the fact that no benefits have been conferred on Panasonic or Integra, and they've got to earn those benefits to receive them. So with that, I'm happy to stand for any questions.
Thank you. Committee questions for Mr. North. Senator Tyson.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Thank you for your testimony. How much of the investment tax credit is the refundable portion? If that was not refundable, what would those dollars be?
It's all refundable.
So just to be clear, the state will be writing a $180 million check to Panasonic? I'm asking what the breakdown is. So
answer to the first part of your question is yes, it is.
I know it's a refundable tax credit.
100% refundable tax credit, correct.
I understand that. I want to know the dollar amount on their fundability. How much did Panasonic get a check for from the state of Kansas on the refundable portion of the tax credit?
They have not received any refund or any incentive as of yet.
May, Madam Chairman. The $180 million is an estimate for each year, correct?
I think you may be looking at the Integra benefit, but the point is the same. Until the investment has taken place, then.
Oh, excuse me. Yes, you're right. The Apex is $500 million.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Correct.
So I just want to know, I want people to understand what refundability means. So not only are they getting their tax bill to zero, but they're getting it below zero. So how much of that is a check that the state is writing to Panasonic?
I mean, so they get the tax credit on their qualified investment. If they've got a tax liability in any of these out years, then it's first going to be applied to their tax liability, and then any amount left over is refundable, as you indicated.
So if they don't have a tax liability at all, would they get a $500 million check to the state, from the state?
No, they could potentially receive 5 checks for $100 million each.
5 checks in one
Yes.
year, or?
No, this would be as the company files its tax returns over.
So I
5
just
years.
want people to understand that refundable portion. The Senate had pulled that out, the House put it back in, and it stayed in negotiations. So did you hear, this company can get a $100 million check with no obligation to the state, no tax obligation. We would write them a $100 million check. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Committee, other questions? Senator Peck.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. As it relates to the sales tax exemption, which you had indicated so far that's all that's been utilized. Correct. Is that for all sales tax or only the state portion?
It's for all sales tax for qualified building construction materials and services.
So local sales tax is also exempt, correct? And to your knowledge, are local units of government asking the state to reimburse that lost sales tax revenue?
Yeah, I don't think any discussions toward that end have taken place.
Okay. It's interesting, Madam Chairman, that when we have some sales tax exemptions, we hear from locals saying, oh, they can't afford to be included, only the state portion, but here we're looking at a significant amount. I think I've said enough. I think it's understood. Thank you.
Senator Dietrich.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for being here. So from your perspective, and if you said this and I missed it, I apologize, is the project moving forward the way that you would expect on the timeline that was presented to us a year ago?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, they are making really significant progress. As I indicated, employment will ramp up probably this summer and fall, and they do expect to be producing product by Q1 of next year.
Senator Schallenberger.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Thanks for being here today. I wasn't here when this bill passed, so I'm learning. The payroll rebate, is that a payroll tax rebate? Is it, their salary rebate?
It is not a withholding rebate, which would be our PEAK program, which maybe you're familiar with, Senator. This is a rebate of a portion of payroll.
Okay, and the sales tax, as the Senator mentioned, so that's for the equipment that they otherwise would have had to pay sales tax on. And I'm assuming the 60.2 is an estimate of what that will be? Correct. Or is that a cap on how much it can be?
It's an estimate, based on our understanding of the cost of the project.
And they can accumulate that over 5 years.
Correct.
And has the clock started ticking on that?
Yes.
And so at the end of 5 years, they're back on the tax rolls from a sales tax perspective.
Correct.
And they're back on the tax rolls from an investment tax credit. Even though it's refundable, they have to eat that up. They have to spend our money within the first 5 years.
I believe the answer is yes.
And their so the payroll part goes for 10 years.
Correct.
Okay. I think I've got it. Thanks.
Committee, other questions? Senator Peck.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. That does bring up another question because of what Senator Schallenberger asked. So on the payroll rebate, the 234 million, is that also an estimate?
Yeah, yes, I mean, it's contingent upon the exact number of jobs and the wages that they pay those jobs. So that is based on the information that was available at the time.
So that 234 million is an estimate of 10% per year for 10 years. I'm trying to get the numbers. Is that 234 estimate, the 10-year estimate, or the annual?
It's a 10-year estimate.
Okay, so, but the rebate is maximum of 10% of the total payroll?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Committee, any other questions? So you did mention the Integra project, and it seems like I believe we were supposed to, or Integra was supposed to know from the federal government if they received the CHIPS funding last fall. And do we know when we might have any indication whether Integra receives that funding?
So we don't have any specific date that we know. We will find that out, but as I indicated, the U.S. Department of Commerce is announcing CHIPS awards. They have funded other projects, so that pace seems to be increasing. And so, you know, we're very hopeful in the next 30, 45 days, we'd have some confirmation around that.
Thank you. And as it relates to Apex in general, basically the clock is running out. I mean, there was a sunset on that bill. So for all intents and purposes, in reality, our two projects under Apex are Panasonic and Integra, correct?
That is correct.
Senator Tyson.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. So you brought up a good point, and I'm back on the refundability. To me, this is a big number, $100 million for one company. And then if you add the Integra portion to it, so you would, how much would that be?
Well, the Integra investment tax credit is estimated to be $180 million over 10 years.
Over 10 years?
Yes.
So 18 million.
Yes.
So the state is looking at writing these two corporations checks worth $118 million a year. I just want to put that in perspective. We just talked about a property tax freeze for disabled veterans and seniors that was passed in CCR 8 that would have had an approximately $25 million fiscal note. We could have expanded that program quite a bit if we weren't writing a $118 million check to two corporations for building a building in Kansas. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Committee, any other questions or comments? Seeing none, thank you so much for the report, committee. As I said, we were to have another briefing. We will not today, so that is our agenda for today. I will remind you that tomorrow we have a joint meeting with the House Commerce Committee. Please note we will be meeting at noon. Lunch is provided in 346 South, and we'll be going over the changes to the unemployment insurance statutes that are being proposed this session. So please note that change, and anything else that we need to take care of, any other business before the committee. Seeing none, we are adjourned. Thank you.